Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Safi. Last week I told you that the regular anchor of this program, Sana Makbool, is traveling and she is expected this week. She will be back, but by Thursday. So until then, I have to once again host this program. Today we are going to talk about two top stories which are very, very, very important. One is regarding the suo motu case that is going on in the Supreme Court of Pakistan on the election dates of two provincial elections, right? That is very important. If you remember last time when the Honorable Bench met, at that time there were dissenting notes, there were opinions expressed regarding efficacy of this case itself. So today the Honorable Chief Justice has reconstituted the bench and removed four justices, that the two of whom actually recused themselves. The other two actually had objected to the idea of suo motu, so they were also removed. Two other also did more or less the same thing, but they are part of the bench. We are going to talk about that as well today and what to expect, because today the Honorable Chief Justice said that within next 24 hours, that is tomorrow, they will try to bring this case to a closure. We are going to talk about all the nuances and try to actually focus on various highs and lows and various opinions that are being expressed regarding it as well. This is one very important case. The other thing is today is also the 4th anniversary of Operation Swift Retort. If you remember, 4 years ago, India had tried to, invade Pakistan's territory, and inside Pakistan, it had tried to, attack certain targets. It could not. It was accosted. Their planes were turned back, and at that time, they had dropped certain smart bombs which had actually reached somewhere, and they ended up claiming that it had actually been a planned operation. But it was clear that Narendra Modi wanted to win the election again, and as per President Obama's memoir, entire Indian population, while it might have many nuances, loses any other dimension or depth when it comes to Pakistan, and they immediately go to the worst kind of instincts possible. So at that time, I remember that day, because the morale was very low and we thought that perhaps Pakistan might or might not push back. But then on this date, Pakistan struck back and got the gift. One of the pilots actually came to Pakistan's territory, and you just saw his pretty face being flashed on television. That person was actually brought down, his plane was brought down, and we didn't let him leave before praising Pakistan's tea. That Pakistan's tea is fantastic. So we are going to talk about that as well. Pakistan is constantly portrayed as an underdog, as a country which might not be able to do much, but Pakistan has proven repeatedly that it is made of better clay, it is made of better materials, and we keep on defying expectations every time there is prediction about something negative going on. And Narendra Modi, while Narendra Modi keeps on actually stating repeatedly that he wants peace, but it is clear that he milked that episode also to get re-elected. We are going to talk about all these matters in the studio. To discuss these issues at this moment, I'm joined by Farid Rais, who is a senior journalist. Although Farid sahab, every time we have an anchor, an analyst, a politician, every time it has become a custom to call them senior. I don't know what does that mean, whether it means that you have more gray hair than my head, or whether you have actually your season. But that is...
You can eliminate this word senior.
Yeah, whenever I go somewhere, when I'm told that you're senior, I say, take it back.
There is no compulsion. A journalist, I believe in this thing, a journalist is a journalist, a practicing journalist, and it It is an honor to be a journalist,
Yeah.
and if you are a practicing journalist.
Yeah.
So nothing matters if you are a senior or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, in any case, Farid, Rais, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
part of the program.
Thank you.
We are joined by two other people as well, two experts, two lawyers. I will introduce them. One is around the studio, but not in it for now. The moment he sits here, I'll introduce him. The other one is going to join us on Skype. So I'm going to introduce him as well. Well, let us first of all talk about the Supreme Court of Pakistan and the suo motu case that is being heard there. Now, before I actually talk about this, let me also build some context here. I think in the past 20 years, when it came to judiciary's respect, you will not find another anchor, perhaps with the exception of present company, who has used a word honorable judges and justices more than I. And there's a reason. It is not out of fear of any contempt notice or anything else. It is out of pure love. Because I believe, and there's a very serious logic here, that the country has been fighting a war on terror. And for 20 years, while we were fighting, the biggest problem was that terrorists, whenever they got an opportunity, the first thing they would do is they would try to undermine Pakistani institutions. Whenever you actually held talks with them, they demanded that a clear fiefdom be carved out where they have their own judiciary, not Pakistan's judiciary, and then our judges were repeatedly attacked as well. And similarly, now Afghan Taliban, when they have taken over, their side also keeps on passing edicts on and mirroring, the senior leadership of Al-Qaeda in betraying Pakistan's judicial system. So my conviction has been that no matter while we might keep on bickering among ourselves, the simple fact is that the enemy knows that we are all allies. So it is important to always keep on bolstering Pakistan's state institutions. Having said this, there are certain things which are problematic at this moment. For example, today, when we saw the written order, we also saw some dissenting notes surfacing. And in that, there was some troublesome news or some kind of indication. For example, Justice Ahmad, who has been separated from the bench today, his note also pointed out that the order the Chief Justice of Pakistan dictated during the hearing, and I'm sure that there were many witnesses there, was different from the one that came out. So this is a concern. Then there is something else as well. While the original three questions were mainly about the holding of elections and the date, who can give the date and how the date can be given, the biggest problem now what we have seen is that during the earlier proceedings, it was also mentioned that it has to be examined whether the assemblies were dissolved correctly or not. Now, amazingly, this does not seem to be a concern that is there. On the last page of the order that surfaced today, it was written that that will be spared for another time, not to deliberate it right now. Why is it important? There is something which actually bears testimony or some kind of scrutiny. Dissolution of assemblies on their own, as per the Constitution, are not a big issue. They have been done in the past, they can be done in the future. But, regarding who was the chief minister at that time is important. Because if you remember, in March last year, the Honorable Supreme Court actually met, and in the Supreme Court, there were certain deliberations about interpretation of Article 63A. And in that, it was decided that the party's head will have a lot of powers, and the agency was taken away from any MNA or MPA who actually voted against the party's judgment or party chief's judgment. And the second thing in that aspect was also that their vote will not be counted, because that becomes a contentious issue as well. If you have committed a crime, if you don't preserve the crime, then what exactly are you punishing a man for? But that was also something that was unseated, not given the right to vote, and then disqualified perhaps also. This was what happened. And then in July, on 26th of July, another verdict comes. This, more or less the same bench, because the original bench was 5-member strong, and out of that there were 2 judges which were who produced dissenting notes. Next, when the bench is formed, the 2 which were dissenting are eliminated. The 3 remain, and the definition is changed from the party chief to party leader in the parliament. So after that, what happened was that Chaudhry Parvez Elahi automatically was elected as the chief minister, and later on that chief minister actually dissolves the assembly. So there is something essentially related to the past interpretations of law. If you, as the during the 63A interpretation, it was said that it cannot be interpreted in isolation, then you have to remember that dissolution of assemblies cannot also be observed in isolation. So this was the case that is there. Then there is also the matter of 2 senior most judges not being included because the call was for a larger, a full bench, and that did not happen. It becomes a concern because the honorable justices who are excluded are going to succeed the current chief justice by the end of the year. So that becomes also a problem. Let me also introduce the guest who has, the second guest who has joined us in the studio, Hafiz Ahsaan Ahmad Khokhar, senior advocate, again, senior advocate of Supreme Court, Pakistan. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program.
You so much,
I'm going to be joined, I don't know whether he has joined me or not, Barrister Safi Ghauri is going to join us on Skype as well. Right now he's not with us. The moment he does, I'm going to welcome him as well. Farid, with your permission, if it's okay, let me start with Khokhar Sahab.
Sure.
Khokhar Sahab, your take on today's reconstitution of the bench, and especially if you have seen Justice Atar bin Allah's dissenting note. What do you think of all that?
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. Today there is a hearing of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and in that particular hearing so many observations were made, and even earlier the bench was constituted by 9 members bench, and today when the hearing was started, 4 judges were not shown their willingness, or they rescued themselves, and the bench composition was 5. And it was decided on 2 points what we have observed from the Supreme Court proceedings. That first, that 2 judges basically who initiated the note for Chief Justice of Pakistan for taking action under Article 184(3), and there was an objection from the PDM or the political parties, and they said that they have already shown their mind, so it would be more appropriate they would rescue themselves. And the 2 other judges, they on the first date of hearing, they made their observation regarding the dismissal of the petitions and the taking of the initiating of the action on this particular issue, on the ground that the matter is pending before the High Court, so it would be more appropriate, let the High Court will decide.
And then that is correct. Let me very quickly ask you a further cross question regarding what was said. 2 judges, just honorable justices who are currently sitting on the bench, Justice Mandokhel and Mansoor Ali Shah, both actually seem to have disagreed with the whole idea of suo motu. But they are a part of the bench. Why would there be such a discrepancy?
If the judges, and they ask, the first thing is that the composition of the bench is the prerogative of the Chief Justice of Pakistan, 1. Number 2, it is the Chief Justice constitutional prerogative that what and when case to be fixed before a 3 members bench, 5 members bench, or 9 members bench. There is another international set precedent.
I'm sorry, I keep on interrupting you, but the confidence with which our friends keep on asserting that this is something, a prerogative of certain gentlemen at certain post. everything falls under the Constitution, is it not?
Yeah.
So every power that is there, because there is bound to be checks and balances, every power is accountable to the Constitution.
Definitely, there is no second opinion on
Right.
it. But simultaneously, it is also very important, and there is a set precedent of not by the Supreme Court of Pakistan and by all the courts, I mean having all over the world, that political question should not be brought to the courts. This is the responsibility of the politicians first, and then it is the responsibility of the parliament to decide at their end. And you just have mentioned a history start from the April 2022, and you have seen that there was clear constitutional violations by both sides. One by the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. They acted or just that at that time the Deputy Speaker said that it is the violation of Article 5, and he bulldozed the vote of no confidence process. And ultimately the Prime Minister advised to the President of Pakistan for the dissolution of Assembly, and he did it. And he was appointed as well for the time being Prime Minister till the caretaker government.
Right.
Supreme Court intervened and he rectified. Then there was another problem by the President of Pakistan. He refused to disassociate or dismiss the Governor of Punjab on the advice of the Prime Minister.
Right.
So ultimately, when there was certain observation by the High Court, then he said, okay, you may move a summary, and the summary was moved. Then there was another problem. Under the Constitution, it is the Governor's responsibility to have an oath if some Chief Minister is elected.
Right. And thank you very much for that recap. That is very important. But my concern again was that when we are talking about prerogatives, the biggest problem is that justice is not only has to be done, it has to be seen to be done, right? And if there is a call for a larger bench or for a full bench, especially when the puisne judges, particularly the ranking judge, is also out there, and he is not being included, it is going to have an impact on how optics actually shape up. So this is the concern that I was raising. With your permission, allow me to actually bring in Farid Rais.
Absolutely.
And then I have to go to the third guest.
Absolutely, but now we are talking about what the Constitution or law says. We should not go for the optics only. That for the sake of the optics, we have to decide one thing and decide not otherwise. For the sake of argument, there is no question on it for the last 36 days that the election are to be held within 90 days. There is no concept it should go beyond the 90 days.
But if, hang on. That is true. But that matters if the dissolution was done appropriately. I say this because
it was neither an issue before the High Court or nor it is a prerogative of a governor.
It might not be, but the appointment of a chief minister was done by a court. And it's verdict. So and that is the man who actually dissolved it. So we cannot actually say that there is no contention at all. Allow me to actually bring in the third guest. Barrister Safi Ghauri also joins us on telephone. Farid, I'm going to come to you, and we are going to talk about politics and optics all along. But let me bring in Barrister Safi Ghauri. Barrister Safi Ghauri, your take on today's reconstitution of the bench. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir. There seems to be some technical problem at this moment. I can't hear Safi. Let me come to our lucky friend here, Farid Rais. Farid Rais, your take on how these things are being interpreted or seen by the media, and did the media's coverage did justice to the way things are unfolding?
Thank you so much, Hafiz, but the basic thing is not over here about the coverage of the issues by the media. Because
why not?
There are many issues in Pakistan. There is no shortage of any kind of stories of the coverage. The media, there is always a media hype to all these relevant stories. And right from 2022, we are what we are witnessing over here, what happened in Punjab, and what you briefed about that. Till the appointment of the CM Chief Minister Parvez Elahi over there, many term it as rewriting of the constitution over there. But I will not go into the constitutional things or the legal matters because I am not a legal expert or a constitution
but optics,
expert.
Sorry to cut you, but optics do matter. I say this because at that time the question pending before the Honorable Court was whether the head of party or parliamentary leader is going to decide which vote counts. And had that deviation from the previous judgment, that was March judgment, was not taken, then the situation would have been different, and CM would have been somebody else who would not have actually dissolved the assembly. Right?
You are pointing it very rightly towards, and that's why I'm talking about it, that many termed it as rewriting of the constitution. You're very right about it, that it wouldn't have been the same situation as we are witnessing over here. Because as far as an analyst, and what I believe in this thing, there is not a matter of being dissolution of the assemblies and what has been said, but the basic things what a political party or what the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its party chairman Imran Khan is trying to do over it, that he wanna capture, he want the things to be done on his wishes. What we say, wishes were horses and beggars would have ride them. But everything is not to be fulfilled overhead, and it's the question over here that what outcomes are there, what that political party want to achieve out of taking by dissolving the assemblies of the Punjab Assembly, by the dissolution of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly. I think so the current government will complete its tenure in the August. There is no time left over it. Let the government do and let the things go in a direction, and let themselves, because I feel in this thing that Imran Khan is trying again and again to exhaust his followers and his party by going into unnecessary things over
But
there.
Farid, there are two aspects which are there. One was pointed out by Khokhar Sahib here, and that is a very legitimate argument, that once the assemblies have been dissolved, the elections have to take place within 90 days,
Yes.
right? And then there's this optics again. Rajanpur elections took place. Nobody cares to actually go and look back at 2018 verdict, results. It was more or less the same, but people keep on saying that, look, PTI has the powers and it can win, and that's why it is being stopped. Amazingly, where perhaps vote would have been shifted, there we already have a stay. And those elections are not taking place, by elections in National Assembly. So that becomes a problem as well. But there are these questions. So there is need for resolution, as the Honorable Court is trying to do as well. But optics are difficult, right? Very quickly. Yes or no?
Yes, I believe what you are saying, that it is different, and as there is no question about it in getting the elections within the 90 days, it is the constitutional obligation over that. But the basic thing, what Khokhar have also discussed earlier over that, I believe, to my opinion, this matter should have been in the courts. The court, there are much to be decided in the courts. There are many cases pending in the courts. These things should be decided by the political parties, the political forces in Pakistan, because if every individual or every individual party or every single thing is to be directed or to be put on the burden on the courts, then let it be done. Then there should be no question about it, what the decision would have come. But the basic thing which I believe over it, as you discussed earlier over that you have always respected the courts, the honorable judges over there, and it
As a
should
mission.
and it should be done not as a fear, but as a matter of respect over there. But I believe in this thing. It's very sad to see about them, that are the political parties, are the political forces. They keep on maligning the judges, the honorable judges, the honorable judiciary over there, for the sake of their own individual gains. Because if they gain something, if they want to gain, if they
And we are going to,
something,
Farid, I have to actually go back to the third guest, who has finally joined us on via image as well. Barrister Safi, Ghauri, your opening remark about today's decision. Please go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. Farooq Saab, I feel right off the cuff that this is one of the most unfortunate things I have seen as a lawyer here in Pakistan. To see the Honorable Supreme Court so divided, to see that four judges of the Supreme Court have recused themselves and stated very clearly in their dissenting notes that the Honorable Chief Justice is abusing his power, that he is biased, and that he has already revealed his mind, and that he is not conducting a fair trial under Article 10A, is something that I believe hardly any Chief Justice of Pakistan has ever heard or seen before. I honestly do not recollect a time when a Chief Justice of Pakistan has been accused of this by fellow Supreme Court judges. And yet we see that there is a merit to what is being said by the recused judges, because the Honorable Chief Justice is going against his own precedent. Now, I was listening when you were talking to Khokhar Saab, and we were discussing about how it is the Chief Justice's prerogative, and indeed it is his prerogative. He is the Chief Justice of Pakistan after all, but he is going against his very own judgment. In a 2017 judgment by Umar Ata Bandial Saab, he stated that when a court is reconstituted, the reconstitution is done with new members. So, if, for instance, four judges had recused themselves, there was an expectation, a reasonable expectation, that four new judges would have been brought in, and those judges would have included perhaps senior judges who have been left out. Instead, the Chief Justice of Pakistan has now continued without the four judges, with the five judges, with the other four judges who were already on his side and had not recused themselves. This in itself goes against the very principles of justice and his own judgment, which he is himself bound to. So I feel like this is a time, and this is a moment of reflection for lawyers, for judges themselves, and trying to see how terrible it is that we have, for the first time in Pakistan, such a divided judiciary, such a
Right.
divided bureaucracy,
Uh,
such a divided.
Barrister Safiullah Ghauri, let us not actually go there when it comes to division of the benches. I mean, what have we not seen in the past? We have seen lawyers' movement. We have seen 1997 attack on the Supreme Court as well. The kind of division on the bench was there. So let us not go there. My concern at this moment is that you're right, there are two aspects to it. Of course, one is of optics. Naturally, justice has to be seen to be done as well, and that is very important. But the second thing that actually really frightens me, the way our society is getting polarized. Today, if you create any precedent, and if it is really in conflict with your previous precedents, the problem is that today you might have leeway to do whatever you want. Tomorrow's courts or benches might not have that leeway because the society is getting constantly polarized. So if some, subpar precedent is created, it can create total, negative development for the future of judicial system. Does it not?
Happening, right? That's what's happening. What we see is creation of new jurisprudence that is far away from the kind of judicial principles that we have been taught. So, for instance, I think the debate that we are having on suo motu is a very important debate, and the kind of points that have been raised in the dissenting notes are also very important points. Now, the honorable judges, say that justice is not being done, a fair trial is not being conducted in light of Article 10A of the Constitution. And that's very clear because the Honorable Chief Justice has already revealed his mind by stating that the elections have to be held in 90 days, by stating that if elections are not held, it would be a violation of the Constitution. This is
No, but
exactly
hang
what
on,
the
hang on.
market.
Hang on. Why are these two things his opinion? Is it not
What the challenge
what is written in the Constitution?
for the challenges. This is exactly what the content and the matter of the case is. He is now to determine whether whether the elections that are to be held within 90 days are to be held in a constitutional manner, and what the constitutional manner is, by stating that a grave violation of the constitution has already taken place. He has revealed his mind. We already know
Okay.
what the judgment is going to be, and that's precisely what the problem is, that he's not
Right.
supposed to do that. Now, the
Right.
fact that he
And
has already stated what he thinks,
right,
and on top of
absolutely.
that, he's on power
Please
to
go ahead.
try and
Finish
push
the thought.
what the narrative is. As has already been said, it's a political issue, one that ought to be resolved by the parliament. The honorable judge, and I say this with all respect, it seems to be somewhat removed from the kind of problems that Pakistan is facing at the moment. The State Bank has clearly stated before, and the Ministry of Finance have stated that there is no money to fund elections. When a requisition for 9 billion rupees was sought by the Chief Election Commissioner for conducting by-elections, he was refused by stating that there is no money in the kitty.
Yeah,
So if
and
there is no
but
money,
Barrister Safi, here's a problem. Even if you don't have money, uh, this is not something that the Constitution takes into cognizance, and that is a problem. So there has to be an interpretation what to do about that. Allow me to come back to Khokhar Saab. Khokhar Saab, One aspect that was raised, and that is it seems very legitimate, that already a case was actually decided by Lahore High Court, right? In this aspect, there was an order that was given, an election commission has gone for an appeal, and that matter was an inter-court appeal is pending. At that time, was it necessary for the Supreme Court to take up this matter? And also, these are high pressure kind of situations where a lot of criticism will come no matter what. And every time Honorable Court actually steps in, it opens the doors for further scrutiny. Was it even necessary?
Before responding your question, I would like to invite the attention that this is not the mind of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. The Election Commission of Pakistan has already written a letter to the governor after appointment of the caretaker minister, and he had pointed out three things. One, the date is to be responsibility of a governor. Number two, the elections are to be held within 90 days. And number three, that the process which is to be triggered, it has to be made by the governor. And they have proposed two dates, one for the KPK assembly and one for the Punjab assembly. So there is no doubt about it that it is the mind of the Supreme Court or the judges of the Supreme Court. Even it is the layman, it is in their mind that there is no further adjournment or there is no extension of the 90-day period. Secondly, if for the sake of argument, if we accept on the point that the elections are being delayed on the points of the law and order situation or on the point of resources, then nothing will happen in Pakistan. One fine morning, the existing government, if they are not in a political situation, they write a letter to the Election Commission of Pakistan in response to the letter, or the president, that we have no funds, we can't provide, so there is no need to hold an election or for the appointment of the caretaker government. But Hafiz sahab, on the minimum points, we need to make some agreement. The agreement is the constitution is supreme. The main agreement is all the political parties should sit together. The main thing is that we should not bring every political question to the High Court or the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Right.
Number four.
And one more principle. Yeah. Should every sub judice case in intra-court appeal or in High Court, should it be brought prematurely to the Supreme Court?
No, the Supreme Court can. Now the Supreme Court
can doesn't mean should.
Yeah. No, when we talk about the power of a Supreme Court, the Supreme Court can. Now, for the sake of argument, if we talk about a case pending before the KPK, and the KPK High Court has adjourned the cases for 3 weeks, so if there is a matter of urgency, he has to decide. And if, for the sake of argument, if we go on the Lahore High Court, Lahore High Court has decided, clearly said that the elections are to be held not beyond than the 90 days. And now there is, the delayed tactics from the Election Commission of Pakistan, that they file and reply, that the governors are required. So we should be very clear on it. And the clear is that instead...
Why are you calling it delaying tactics?
The delaying
does it not amount to impugning them?
No. If the Constitution says that this is your responsibility under Article 218 of the Constitution of Pakistan, and if in response to the letter of the governor, they are saying that you consult and go for it, they should decide a date about it. Why they are again, lingering the matter only on the point that the governor is responsible? So important thing would be that when the date should be announced. This is the question before the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and every layman, not
hang on.
Yeah.
There were originally 3 questions, but they're not. Were you in the Supreme Court when the first day hearing was taking place?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. At that time, there was an order dictated, was it not?
Yeah, there was.
There was a dissenting. There were dissenting arguments from Justice Mansoor and Justice Ahmed, was it not?
Important thing would
be. Hang on, sir. Hang on. Did the Honorable Chief Justice not say that this matter will also be considered in future hearings?
Yeah, it was over there. And
now there seems to be, and forgive me for saying this, that the punters or analysts are actually pointing out that when it came to March hearing the previous year, and then of course the hearing in July, the dissenting judges were eliminated from the bench, and then a three.
Dissenting, Patafi Sahib, dissenting.
Hang on, allow me. If you are going to actually, you stop me in the middle, perhaps it will be misconstrued as contempt.
Please carry on.
The commentators that I spoke to kept on saying that there are judges who actually whose inclusion was pointed out to be problematic, and that is understood that they were eliminated, they were not included now. But there was a clear demand for a full court. If this is such a high pressure issue, why not have the full court include the two senior most judges who are going to succeed you? That did not happen. Are you telling me that it is not within anybody's right to even ask this question?
No, when the Supreme Court has decided that this would be the composition of a bench for a case, so the matter is over. And this was debated.
And since it is over, I have the right, because it is now no more sub judice, I can ask the question.
The first right is for those who are members of a bench. If they have the disagreement on the Chief Justice or the other brother judges, they can make their dissenting note, and you have a right to, make your point on it. But now this is the point. The only point before the Supreme Court is now that there is no problem with the 90 days, there is no problem with the Election Commission of Pakistan, there is no problem with Article 105, there is no problem the President did not have the authority to advise to the Election Commission of Pakistan.
President did or did not?
President did not have the authority because the authority...
Who did? Who did?
The authority vested with the governor and Article 105.
If the governor says that I did not approve of the dissolution, so I have no business in it.
No, why not? If simultaneously the ground reality is
the letter of law clear about this?
It is clear. It is clear. It is the responsibility of a governor.
Is it written that no matter whether he does accept or not,
it is clear. The law says, the Constitution says that if an advice is being after the 18th Amendment to the governor, and if he abstains, automatically 48 hours, the assembly will be dissolved.
I'm not talking about that.
If the assembly is dissolved, so he has no choice except to give a date.
Right.
There is no second opinion.
So why a hearing?
The hearing is he has refused to give a date.
So why a hearing? Issue an edict or a decision that he has overstepped his bounds. Punish him.
So as a legal expert and as a student of law, one thing is very important for the Supreme Court and the High Courts of Pakistan. They should not decide the matter, they should also decide the action against those who violated the Constitution. This is the way where we can control and where we can go in a way that...
good luck with that.
Don't interpret yourself, if for the sake of...
With due respect, Governor is like the President is head of state of Pakistan, Governor is head of the state or the head of the federating unit.
They are not immune. They are not immune from the constitutional violations.
But this is what I was very humbly pointing out, that if there is such an argument being made, then the argument has to be made that no one is immune from the Constitution.
Definitely.
Right? And we cannot keep on saying that this is somebody's prerogative, and then you cannot even challenge that. And then say that the other person does not have any prerogative, because then it is going to create so much mess regarding the federating units and federation that we will end up making a mockery of the federation. You cannot apply any argument selected. This is my humble submission.
We keep saying and we keep watching for the last 1 year. For the sake of argument, if we started from the dissolution of Assembly of Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto, if it should have been decided that the assembly was illegally dissolved by, at that time, the President of Pakistan, and there was a consequence for that, because he acted against the spirit of the Constitution, he should be impeached under the Constitution. And the practice keeps going on until it was...
Impeached by whom?
Impeached. First, if there is no assembly, it should be done on the directions of the Supreme Court to the government or to the state. And
I'm sorry, where is it written in the Constitution?
If the Constitution says...
You are legislating through your television commentary.
No, it's not. Every action has a reaction, and if you are...
No, but don't give me the third law of motion. With due respect, that is something beyond...
For the sake of argument, if some government employee has done a wrong with the public,
Yeah.
So there is one option only to rectify, and the second option is to take a disciplinary action against the person.
Right.
So we should have done for the constitution
Yeah,
as well.
but my humble submission again is that we are actually in very unprecedented territory, and we are not getting stronger. So at this moment, if we keep on arguing controversial facts as gospel truth, we will end up doing a grave injustice and injury to the truth itself. And this is my humble summation. I'm told that we don't have that much time. I have to very quickly bring in Safi and then Farid as well. With your permission, Khokhar Sahab, let me go to Barrister Safi Ghauri first. Barrister Sahab, you have listened to what Khokhar Sahab was saying. Your very quick comment.
Right, so I think this is what's happening, right? The present behavior of the Supreme Court seems to be adding fuel to fire. What we're seeing is that words that the Chief Justice has spoken, which are normally called obiter dicta, are now being taken as what we would normally call ratio dissentio. There's a big difference between them. An obiter dicta in law means something that is said by the way. So he said by the way that the president has the power. But now it is being taken as an authoritative truth. There is no ruling on it. This is not ratio. This is not a decision that the Supreme Court has come to, but this is just something that the Chief Justice seems to be saying without listening to all the arguments and giving his observations before things are coming in forward. And as you rightly pointed out, what's happening is that this entire matter is becoming unnecessarily controversial because the Chief Justice is consistently ignoring all the pleas of all other parties. If he's being said that the elections of the general elections and the provincial elections of a country are one of the most monumental events that a country could go through, therefore constitute a full bench pleas, he's not listening to that. When four of his own Supreme Court judges have passed allegations stating that there is biasness and there is an abuse of power going on, he's okay to proceed without them or keeping in view his own previous judgments on what the laws of reconstitution of benches are. So all we see is by these actions, by the statements that are constantly that are being made that suggest that the constitution will be violated under any circumstance in 90 days, what this does is it creates further panic in a panic-ridden country. Now, and we see the result of this panic everywhere. We see the result of this panic on prices. We see the result of this panic on our stock exchange. We see how this is leading to our international isolation. And it is unfortunate that the helm of our judiciary is also adding fuel to this entire fire. It's not like they're calming the
Right,
situation down. They just
and Barrister Safi, these are very important questions. In coming days, we are going to hear further on these matters. Until then, let me thank you. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Farid, what we can do is we can continue to talk about this topic, but there's another story which I introduced at the start. And for a change, one of the things that actually make us hold our head high. Especially swift retort is an operation that brought the country out of morose depression that it was facing. Your comment on that, let me ask you that.
It was a surprise, as you discussed, and we all know this thing that was a day which was a surprise, and India had to pay a very big price. And what was written on the bill of that tea, that was May 21, that the price India had to pay over it. So I think so. It was a moment of pride for all of us. So it was indeed a surprise day. It was the name, the Operation Swift Retort. It was very well planned. It was timely planned, and the answer was given. The answer was very clear to India that if any kind of an aggression would be made, then the answer what was given in the name by getting down the Indian pilot and then returning back to them also. That was a clear message that any kind of aggression will be dealt with the iron fist. So that's what I...
And that was there. And then we saw a walking, talking proof of that as well. Khokhar's patriotism is not, unique or exclusive to journalists. If you want to chime in, if you want to comment on this.
Definitely 28th of February is a landmark in Pakistan history. We are proud that we defended our country, and the opposite side, they knew our capability, and we proved our capability, and all credit goes to Pakistan Army and at that time the Air Force, and especially all the political parties who sat in the National Assembly, and they supported the government, the military, the Air Force, and it is a big celebration for the country, and we should take pride of it. And being the only nuclear power of the world, we have proved ourselves, and inshallah ta'ala we will prove in our other areas like governance, economy, and our judicial system.
Right, Khokhar sahab, thank you very much sir, for your precious time. Farid, Rais, thank you very much for your precious time as well. Viewers, regarding the second topic, first, one thing is clear, that it can be interpreted when we say that we take pride in what happened and the way we responded as jingoistic, but it is not. Why? Because there was a clear case of a bully that keeps on knocking down your door, and someday all psychologists have to tell you that you have to stand up to the bully. If you don't, the bully keeps walking all over you. So that day Pakistan did that, despite the fact that the world order was so broken at that time that Donald Trump was heading it, and because of that we had no assurances that the war would not escalate. Mercifully it did not. Let us hope in coming days it is proven, not only through our Air Force, through our army, but through our political maturity as well, that we are capable of giving a befitting response to the enemy in peace and war, both. This was the second segment. I very quickly wanted to actually reflect on the first topic's conclusion as well, because it is clear that Khokhar sahab actually joined us late, and at that time he did not hear what I was saying at the start. Perhaps he assumed that I'm on a mission to criticize the judiciary. I actually built the case that that is exactly what we want to avoid. And the only humble summation is, please make that easy for us. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.